I'm Helen Jones from meandmyjanome.com. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to do a two-part series on stippling and making zipper bags. First of all, we're going to learn how to use the stippling function on your Memory Craft 15,000. And once we've done that to the fabric, we'll then turn them into a couple of zipper bags similar to the one that I've already created here. So let's get started. Things you're going to need. So fabrics that you want to use. Now in this case I had bought, I think it was 1 metre of these two fabrics and I'd already made a bag. So I have a couple of offcuts, so I'm going to make quite a biggish piece today. But you can make this as big or as small as you like. What I'm going to show you how to do is to attach some calico or remnant fabric around the edge to give you the 5 inches that you need in your hoop to be able to stipple quilt the whole piece. You need to get some odd bits of fabric that you can use to sew on. You'll cut them off later. A zipper, some thread that goes with your fabric. I'm going to use a really different sort of thread here, a bit metallic-y, and it's a flat thread. I've used it before and it looks really good on this. And then some wadding that's going to be big enough for you to be able to fit between your two pieces of fabric. The next step is to now lay out all of your fabric in the 3 layers. So you've got your bottom, then your batting, and then just smooth out the top layer. Try and get them matched up as much as you can. Now the next step is to put in some pins like you would with normal quilting. Unfortunately my pins aren't very sharp, but just make best that you can. I was always taught to have your pins at least 4 inches apart. I'm not going to pin it just as much on this as when we put it into the hoop, it holds it in place. But this is enough that you can move it from your table to your sewing machine and not have too many problems. Once we've done this, we're going to take it to the sewing machine and sew the 4 pieces of calico or leftover fabric that you might have to the sides of. All we're going to do is sew these along the edges here like this, just, you know, 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, and then we're going to pull it back like this when we're finished. So then this is what we end up putting into the hoop when we get to the edges. That way you can get all the stippling right up to the edge. Here we are at the machine. We're going to sew those pieces of fabric in place that I showed you from the sewing table. All we're going to do is just sew straight down the edge of the fabric between all 4 pieces of fabric, the batting and 3 lots of fabric. You don't need to be too straight here, just enough that you can pull on the edges to make all of the fabric in the middle quite taut when it's in the holder for stippling. Oops. Okay, I just want to cover off the foot that I'm using. At this point I'm using an F foot. You can also use the A foot, which is here to achieve the same thing. I, for whatever reason, prefer to use the F, probably because it's easier to see. So now that we've sewn the sides on, just to give it that extra width, you need to measure your piece of fabric so you know how to set up the AcuFil tool. So it has to be done in inches, I've found. So this piece is 20.5 by 21. I don't go right to the edge, I'd rather just have a little bit of leeway there. Okay, one of the other things we need to be able to do is also line up the centre of the fabric. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. You could fold it in half and in half again and then iron a little square in the middle. I often do that. In this case what I'm going to do is just use a water soluble pen, and I'm just going to eyeball pretty much where the centre is with my pen here. Now unfortunately I've only got a pink pen, so I don't know how well this is going to show up, but because this is 20.5, basically I'm looking for 10.25 for the middle here, and then 21 I'm looking for 10.5 across, so almost. So if I just do a line here and 21, 10.5, it's not too far off the centre. Do a whole line down here. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is open up your Horizon Link Suite software. Click on the AcuFil tool. Now we're going to start with the first option here, which is to AcuFil multiple design layout. I'm going to fill in the dimensions of my fabric, which we have just measured. So that's 21 by 20.5. Click on OK. I click on Next at the top here on the left. You get the design. You can see at the bottom here that it shows you how wide your piece of soft fabric is. Now I can write this to my USB stick, which I've got already plugged into my laptop. Pop it into a directory here. I'm going to name it. Click on OK, and then hit the arrow, and that'll write it to the actual USB stick for me. Now that I've written the file to the USB stick, just a bit of a tip: if you on your keyboard go Control P for print, you now get the option pop up that allows you to print this here to your printer. Okay, so one of the things I did show you was how to print off the templates here. So I've got both of the printouts that come out, so handy, and this is one of the things I just love about this software. So what you can do is take this, and I cut around, I'm hoping you can see this, cut around the edge here just roughly, and it will give me my centre. The other sheet that it prints out just tells you how many times you're going to repeat that stippling piece. So for us today, we're going to start right in the centre, so I've marked that already on the fabric, and then we're going to move it around the outside of that, which I'll show you as we go. Okay, for stippling I find using the ASQ22 the best hoop because it's got the magnetic guides. So what I'm going to do is just tuck this underneath here and try and put it in the centre as much as I can. Now for the first piece that we're going to lay out, it's very easy to line up this here. So we take our placement guide. Now you might find, like in this case, the are in the way. So what I'm going to do is just unpin these. Okay, so you have it in as close as you can to the centre, move the fabric around a bit, lay this in here, try and get it, I'm just off a little, so you just pull this over a little, and then we're pretty much in the middle now. Just a little jiggle here, and we're done. So at this point is where I take these and just clamp them. And I can remove this. Now we can go to the sewing machine. Okay, to save a bit of time, I have already threaded my machine. The bobbin, I have put the pink in, and on the top I've put the grey, just to reverse the colours really, so the pink's showing on the grey side and the grey showing on the pink, just to give it a bit of pop. Okay, now it's time to start. Okay, what I wanted to do next was show you how to place the printed template on the back of the see-through guide. Okay, so sometimes there's enough static for the paper to stick. If not, I just line up the 4 lines with the arrow, as you can see here, and then just with a little bit of sellotape, I just pop it on, just enough to hold it for when I'm using it in the machine. Okay, let's go back to the machine. It's more how to move it over, and then we can pretty much finish up. We're just going to move the fabric over to make room for the next piece. Take out any pins that you've got in the way. Then take your template and lay it out on top. The idea is that the paper template goes in with the direction of the arrow,
and then that you're trying to butt up the paper template against the last row that you sewn. So in this case it's the line to the right, but say you had done a piece at the top or to the left, you're trying to match those up so that the whole piece just looks like it was continuously stippled.
Okay, put the guides on. That out, 2 on the back, and we can hit start again. Okay, so as you can see I have done all of the panels. Now I just want to point out a couple of things. Because I didn't cut my fabric straight, you can see that I have the machine has gone off on the edges here. Right, so it's up to you whether you want to take the time, and I probably suggest that you should even it up. For me, I'm okay with this because of course we're going to cut this piece up anyway. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with this. You'll also find that on the back, because I was using metallic thread, I get a few pull down pieces. That's just the way it works with the tension on this machine. So I'm just going to go through and cut those pieces and trim them so you get a nicer look, and trim the edges, and we should all be able to go. So for now, I'm going to leave this as phase 1, and we'll come back to it another time to do the zip. Thanks for watching part 1 of this 2-part series. I'm pretty new at these, so can only get better with time. If you have any questions or requests, please leave those in the comment section below. Also make sure that you click on the subscription button so you don't miss out on part 2, which should be posted in the next few days. See you later.